Hello, this is Waking Up with Wisdom, and today we're sharing a story that reminds us of the incredible power of faith and self-belief as taught by Buddha himself. Long ago, in the serene and picturesque land south of Savatthi, there was a village nestled along the banks of a great river. The village, though small, consisted of 500 houses, and its people lived simple lives, connected to the rhythm of the river. The water was their lifeblood, providing them with food, water, and a sense of peace. But the river was also powerful and unpredictable, often becoming treacherous during the rainy season. Buddha, in his endless compassion and wisdom, often thought of the countless souls across the land who live in ignorance and suffering. He knew that his teachings could bring them peace and salvation. One day, he decided to visit this village by the river, believing it was time for the people there to hear his message. When Buddha arrived at the village, he sat down beneath a large tree by the riverbank. His presence was calming, and his aura shone with a divine light. The villagers, seeing him, were drawn to his serenity and gathered around him, eager to hear what this wise and enlightened man had to say. Buddha began to speak, sharing his teachings on the nature of suffering, the path to enlightenment, and the importance of compassion. His voice was gentle but powerful, carrying the weight of truth. Yet, as he spoke, he noticed something in the eyes of the villagers, a glimmer of doubt. Though they respected him and were moved by his words, they found it difficult to fully believe in his teachings. The deep-rooted skepticism and attachment to their daily struggles clouded their ability to embrace the wisdom Buddha offered. Meanwhile, in the town of Savatthi, there lived a man named Sariputta. He had heard of Buddha's teachings and felt a profound desire to meet him, to hear the doctrine directly from the master's lips. Sariputta's heart was filled with faith and determination, and nothing would deter him from his goal. When Sariputta arrived at the river, he saw that the water was deep and the current strong, especially after the recent rains. The river, which had always been a friend to the villagers, now seemed like a formidable barrier. But Sariputta was undeterred. He looked at the river and thought, "This stream shall not prevent me from meeting the Blessed One. My faith is strong, and I will cross this river to reach him." With that resolve, Sariputta stepped into the water. To his amazement, the river, which appeared so perilous, felt as solid as the ground beneath his feet. He walked confidently, his faith turning the turbulent water into a firm pathway. As Sariputta continued his journey across the river, he reached the middle, where the current was strongest and the waves were the highest. Here, doubt began to creep into his mind. For a moment, he questioned whether he could make it across. The water, which had been so firm, now seemed unstable. His heart wavered, and suddenly he began to sink. Fear gripped him as the water rose around him. But in that critical moment, Sariputta remembered why he had set out on this journey in the first place. He recalled the teachings he had heard, the faith that had carried him this far. Gathering his strength, he renewed his focus and belief. "I must have faith," he told himself. With this renewed determination, the water once again solidified under his feet, and he continued his journey. When Sariputta finally reached the other side of the river, the villagers, who had been watching in awe, were astonished. They knew there was no bridge or ferry, yet here was Sariputta, standing before them, having crossed the river on foot. They crowded around him, eager to know how he had accomplished such a miraculous feat. Sariputta, still filled with the peace and joy of his encounter with Buddha, replied, "I once lived in ignorance, just like many of you. But when I heard the voice of Buddha, my heart was filled with a deep desire to learn the path to salvation. I crossed the river, walking on its troubled waters, because of my faith. It was faith and nothing else that allowed me to do so. Now I stand here, blessed to be in the presence of the Master." Buddha, who had been silently observing, spoke up. "Sariputta, you have spoken wisely. It is indeed faith like yours, that has the power to save the world and bring peace to humanity." He then turned to the villagers, urging them to cultivate this same faith in their own lives. He explained that the river of life is often filled with challenges and uncertainties, but with faith, one can overcome any obstacle and find liberation from suffering. Buddha's words resonated deeply with the villagers. They began to realize that the doubts they had harbored were the very chains that bound them to their suffering. As they listened, their hearts softened and their minds opened to the teachings of the Blessed One. They started to believe, filled with a newfound sense of joy and hope. This story teaches us that in life, faith is an essential force that guides us through our darkest and most challenging moments. Whether it is faith in a higher power, faith in our own abilities, or faith in the goodness of others, it is this belief that keeps us moving forward, even when the path seems uncertain. When Sariputta lost faith, he began to sink, but when he regained it, he could continue his journey and achieve his goal. Similarly, in our own lives, we must hold on to faith, especially when faced with difficulties. It is faith that enables us to walk over the troubled waters of life and reach the shores of peace and fulfillment. This is Waking Up with Wisdom Stories. Thank you for watching, and stay blessed.